All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, C Wells, coming at you. And we're gonna talk a little bit of NFL draft. Gonna talk a little bit of upcoming SWAC 2022 football season. So we got a nice little packed show ahead of us. So make sure to continue to tune in, man, and hit those socials that are on the screen right now. Facebook is SWACTalk, Twitter SWACTalk76, Instagram SWACTalk, and Gmail is SWACTalk76 at gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, won't you please subscribe to the channel? I definitely appreciate that. If you have done so already, man, thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Hit the notification bell so you can be alerted to any content that I upload. Like the videos and share them, please. And feel free to get in the comments and, comment on any of today's topics or whatever. So, we're not going to waste a lot of time with intros and whatnot, man. Before I guess one last thing, another edition of SWAC Talk coming at you on Wednesday, and then SWAC Smoke live on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then another edition of SWAC Talk coming at you next Sunday. SWAC Smoke merch, t-shirts are available. I believe they are $25. So, man, make sure you hit me or DJ up. I'll have his Instagram in the description, so you can hit him up there. Also, if you want to hit me up, I can direct you to him. So, if you want to support the show, we got t-shirts, black and white. So we'll put the information out and let you check those out. So let's get into it, man. Let's not waste no more time, man. It was a pretty good Sunday. Honestly, this week it was a pretty good day for the SWAC and HBCU football. There were I think 20 non-FBS draft picks in the 2022 NFL draft. 4 of those were HBCU players, so that's a lot better than 0. I know a lot of people have been banging the drum for getting SWAC and HBCU players in general, getting them drafted, and it kind of went to schedule. I know a lot of people thought that there was a good chance that guys could go on second day, but that's really dicey. The draft was really odd this year. There was a lot of quarterbacks didn't get drafted till late. A guy like Nakobe Dean from Georgia didn't get drafted until I think the 3rd round. There were a few surprise, first and second round picks, but a lot of guys slid, and that pushes other people in the later rounds. That pushes them back a little bit when there's guys who you thought might be gone still available. So it kind of was a waiting game, and it was a little nerve wracking, and people were starting to get antsy because there has been a big push this past season and the last offseason about getting HBCU players drafted, and to think that there were going to be none. I think a lot of people really started to get antsy, especially when it comes to SWAC guys. People really were starting to just talk a lot of negativity, and not let the process play out. Obviously, whether you get your name called or you get picked, or you sign an undrafted free agent contract, you have an opportunity. You want to get your name called, so that's to me the most important part of getting drafted. So the first HBCU player that came off the board was Joshua Williams, cornerback from Fayetteville State. He was drafted in the 4th round by the Chiefs, the 135th pick. He was a guy whose name had been really ringing out this offseason, so he was the first guy to go. About 7 picks later, at 142, the Rams picked Jacoby Durant, big-time defensive back from South Carolina State. So there were 2 HBCU guys in the 4th round, and the wait was on for SWAC guys. We had to wait till the 6th round, the 217th pick. James Houston, defensive end from Jackson State, was the first pick of a SWAC guy in quite some time. So that was a nice move. Detroit Lions got him. So the drought was broken, man. And then we were able to get another SWAC guy drafted in the 7th round, 226, Jatiri Carter from Southern, offensive tackle, but they're going to try him at guard. So he went to the Bears. So 2 SWAC guys drafted this season. two other HBCU guys. So four of the 20 non-FBS draft picks were SWAC guys. I think the SWAC was had the third most FCS players drafted. Missouri Valley had like 9. I think the SoCon had a couple. SWAC had a couple. So it was a pretty I mean there weren't a lot of HBCU. There weren't a lot of let's say there wasn't a lot of FBS guys drafted. So 1/5 of those 1/5 of the non-FBS guys that were drafted were HBCU guys. So that's a pretty good number, especially coming off of a year that there were nobody drafted. So it's progress. There's going to be a lot of talented guys coming out, and now maybe people can see that guys can get drafted. You don't have to necessarily play against a gang of quote unquote good teams or playing a quote unquote good conference to get drafted. I mean, you just have to have talent, and like they say, the scouts will find you. It's cliche, but it's true. There were also so far I've seen a few undrafted free agent signings. I haven't got a lot between last night and this morning, but some of the ones that I did see was Marquise Bell, safety from FAMU. He signed with the Cowboys, so we'll see what he can do in Dallas when he gets to minicamp. Savion Williams, defensive lineman from FAMU, he signed with the Jets. Felix Triggerman Harper signed with the Cleveland Browns, so that's a good opportunity for him to hopefully continue his career. Caleb Carter, a linebacker from Southern who did not play in the spring of 2020 or the fall of 2020. He was signed by the Indianapolis Colts, hometown boy from Baton Rouge, so I always got to support that. Keith Corbin, wide receiver, Jackson State, he signed with the Bills. Akil Glass, that was a guy who some people thought may get drafted. He signed with the Buccaneers. And Braylon Robinson, who's he played wide receiver at Alcorn for a bit, but he's a track guy. He signed with the Buccaneers as well from Alcorn. So that's a few of the names that I've seen so far. There may be some more that have leaked in since the last time I looked, but that's a good start. Guys, hopefully they can go in and make some waves and carve out a roster spot. If not, at least get that name out there and get some attention on their game. So pretty all in all, like I said, it was a kind of weird draft with quarterbacks going so late, which to me pushed a lot of other stuff back. 13 wide receivers drafted like in the top 50, so people just really went crazy on receivers, and that pushed a lot of other guys back. But it was finally good to have some SWAC guys drafted, some HBCU guys drafted. So we'll continue to see how this goes, and that 20 non-FBS draft picks was the most since I think 93 and 94, I believe it is. Since the 90s, I believe, when there were 30 guys that were not FBS guys that were drafted. So all in all, a lot more attention has been paid to the lower divisions, although there still should be, you hope for more, but that's, a start. So for all entities. So all in all, a good day. Saturday was a good day. It was, a nice little celebration to see guys from your school and your conference get drafted. So, hopefully this is something that, schools can build on and players can build on and continue to get some guys in the draft. So, like I said, let me know what you think. Who if you think anybody got snubbed who should have got drafted, or just let me know what your thoughts are on the draft, and we'll go from there in the comments. My next topic, and this was my initial topic before Saturday's events. I kind of was gonna come on here and rant and rave a little bit about the draft. If it didn't go the way I thought, but it actually did, so don't have to worry about that. The next topic that we have is the SWAC games of interest. These are games that I have my eye on for the 2022 season. I'm not saying they're gonna be games of the year. Some of these games may not even be close when they actually play. It's too early to forecast wins and losses. It's too early to say what these games actual impact on the SWAC will be. Some of these games may have no impact on the SWAC. Some of them are non-conference games, but these are games that, I, at this point, coming off of spring practice, with that gap in between spring practice and fall camp opening and the start of the season, these are the games that I'm kind of interested in keeping my eyes on. Now there are other games, but if I had my way, I probably would have listed almost every game that's on the SWAC schedule, and that makes for a long show, and that makes for a list that's just non-committal. So we're gonna run this down in week order. Starting with week 0, the MEAC SWAC Challenge, Howard versus Alabama State. This game this game piques my interest for a couple of reasons. One, is the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and Howard's leaving the MEAC after this season, so this is their last opportunity in this game for the near future. Is also Alabama State's first game under Coach Eddie Robinson, so that's a big game. Howard has some talent. They have Eden James, who's the son of Edgerrin James, playing running back at Howard. So Howard has some talent. Alabama State's been aggressive in the portal, so this will be a good first game for them. The SWAC hasn't had a lot of success in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, so it's an opportunity for the SWAC to get off that snide and pick up another victory in this game. This could be one of the last MEAC SWAC challenges that we have if things continue to go the way that they're going with the MEAC. So there's a lot of storylines there. Most importantly, it's the first game of the SWAC season. As far as FCS matchups go, I think FAMU was playing North Carolina that weekend too, but this is the first FCS matchup for the SWAC, and it's the MEAC SWAC Challenge, so that's something that I always like to keep my eyes on. The first actual week of the season, week 1, September 3rd, the two games that piqued my interest, and they're for various reasons. The first is Texas Southern at Prairie View, and this game is important because a lot of people have TSU as a dark horse to win the West Division, and if they want to do that, they need to win this game. They came up just short against Prairie View the last couple of outings, so they're on the cusp of crossing that threshold. This is Prairie View's first game without Coach Dooley. Coach Bubba McDowell is taking over, so this will be his first game, and it's the Labor Day Classic, which is a big rivalry in and of itself. This is an opportunity for a lot of people to see the growth that Andrew Body makes from last year to this year. TSU, is saying that they're gonna have a better defense. The running game is still pretty solid. So if this is a game that I would pick a favorite, just off of some of those things, I would maybe even have TSU favorite coming into this game. Now, this is obviously we're in the middle of the spring doldrums, so there's no real way to really know for sure what's going on with either team. But a lot of people think that TSU can win the SWAC, and if they want to, they need to win this game. A 1-0 start for them would be very vital to them, not just for standings but for confidence. In Prairie View, it's a big game for them as well. So that's a very big game. Week 1, somebody's gonna be 0-1 in the West, and the way the division is, who knows how that's gonna affect anything. Stephen F. Austin at Alcorn is another game. I haven't researched Stephen F. Austin. I know they're always a pretty solid program. They're in the WAC now. So this is an opportunity for Alcorn to play FCS opponent, regional opponent at home. So that's a good home opener. Valley also gets I think Tarleton State at home, I believe. I have to go back and look if that's a home game for Valley, but that's another WAC SWAC matchup. But Alcorn is looking to right the ship. They're breaking in a new quarterback, so this is a game that you kind of have your eyes on, not necessarily for what happens in the results, but it's just a good opportunity to host a school like this that a lot of people want SWAC teams to play solid non-conference games, and if you're gonna play them, you might as well play them at home. So that this is a good opportunity for Alcorn. That's why this game is on my list. Of course, probably the game that most people will be looking forward to that weekend is the Orange Blossom Classic in Miami on Sunday, September 4th. Jackson State and FAMU. These two teams had a knockdown, drag out battle last year. JSU won 7-6. But there's been talking back and forth since the end of that game. FAMU did not lose a SWAC game after that. They went to the playoffs, ultimately losing to Southeastern Louisiana in the first round, but they were the first SWAC team to make the playoffs since Jackson State went in the 90s. So this was a good, that was a SWAC got a playoff team. And, so now FAMU feels like they let one slip last year. So, both teams are going to be hungry. The fan base is going to be hungry. Going to be a great crowd. So, I mean, obviously, anybody's list of games that they're interested in or games of the season, this game is going to be on there. And, obviously, the winner of this game probably takes a nice hold of the East Division. I wish this matchup was later in the season because, these are probably the top two teams in the division at this point. Somebody's going to be 0-1, and, the winner may not lose again. We don't know. So, you really find yourself in a tough spot if you lose this game. There's a lot on the line for an early season game. And, these two teams are building a rivalry. So, this has an opportunity to be a very, very interesting game, a very intense game, and one that everybody has their eyes on. So, obviously that was a no-brainer to have this on my list. Moving on to week 2, Grambling enters the list. They will be playing Northwestern State in Shreveport. This is a Southland SWAC matchup. Like I said, I like these kind of matchups. I don't necessarily feel like you need to play these to prove anything, but it's good to play regional opponents. That's one of the things that I push for a lot. So getting a game like this in Shreveport is a good matchup. I hope, this is a chance for Grambling to show what they got. Hugh Jackson can, show the progress that he's made with the team. So that's the main reason why this game is on my list, similar to the Alcorn game. South Carolina State at Bethune-Cookman. South Carolina State should probably be a SWAC member by some point because they have played, multiple SWAC schools the last, basically going back to the spring of 2020. They played Alabama State and Alabama A&M in the spring. Then they played Bethune-Cookman and Bethune-Cookman, FAMU and Alabama A&M last year. So, they probably should just go ahead and join, especially with what's going on with the MEAC. But this is a game that, Bethune-Cookman has the opportunity to show what they have. Jalen Jones should probably be the starting quarterback for them by this point. So this could be a very interesting game. South Carolina State's losing some big pieces on their defense, but they have some nice pieces on offense returning. So, should be a very interesting game. Bethune-Cookman fell behind big against South Carolina State last year and made a furious comeback to make to lose by like 7 last year. So we'll see what happens, at the Rock this time in Daytona. So, this is definitely not it's obviously not a conference game. It doesn't really impact a lot, but it can be a nice outing for Bethune-Cookman to show that they put that horrible 2021 season behind them. The next game we have is a game that has a lot of intrigue, a lot of drama, a lot of everything on it. And maybe, if people had their way, maybe in the future this would be a SWAC matchup. And that's the Southern Heritage Classic, Jackson State and Tennessee State. This is the last time these two teams are going to play in this game for a while. It really, at some point, it seemed like this game was not going to take place this season either. But, outside forces and promoters and everything were able to get this game to take place. So this is Eddie George, Deion Sanders, part 2. Tennessee State, they've recruited well. Obviously JSU is doing JSU things on the recruiting trail. So the intrigue is already there before you add in all the drama, and the off the field stuff and all of that. So this game is, Jackson State has, won the last couple of games in this series. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup to begin with, but that little extra boost kind of boost the intensity. So obviously that was a game that should be on anybody's list, just for the, for the fuckery, like I like to say, it deserves to be on the list. So obviously that's a game that I'm definitely going to be interested in. A game I didn't put this on my list because it's an FBS matchup and I don't really put a lot of stake into these, but some people in the area are really interested in this game. That's Southern and LSU taking place also this weekend, September 10th, week 2. That's Baton Rouge matchup. HBCU, FBS, PWI, Power 5 school, crosstown matchup. Whatever you want to call it. There's some interest from a lot of people in that game, but I didn't really feel like it was worth putting on the list, but I just thought I'd bring it up because it's on the schedule at that point. Week 3, September 17th, Grambling at Jackson State. This is a non-conference matchup, but these are, obviously two historically great SWAC programs. Grambling looking to rebound from their dismal 2021 season. Hugh Jackson, Deion Sanders, both, really polarizing figures at head coach at both schools. Grambling, like I said, they're looking to prove that 2021 was a fluke. And they won a lot of games against Jackson State before they lost to them in the spring. So they would love to make a wave with a game and a victory in Jackson. But this is a big time matchup when these two teams play, and it's good that this game is back on the schedule, even if it's a non-conference matchup. Another huge West Division matchup is Southern and TSU. They're playing in Arlington. I think this is the last year of the Arlington Football Classic. So TSU beat Southern in this game last year and kind of put their name on the map last season. Andrew Body had a huge game in this game, kind of like a coming out party for him. So this is a big game again for TSU if they want to, stake their claim to the West Division. 2 West Division matchups in the first 3 weeks of the season is huge for them. They cannot afford to honestly lose either one of these games. They want to stay in the race. This game is Southern's first game that they can show really what they are. They have a non-D1 opponent week 1, then they have an FBS opponent week 2. So this is an opportunity for Southern to show what they really have. And it's gonna be hopefully a barn burner. Last year was a very high scoring game, came down to the final minute of the game. So should be an entertaining matchup, and we'll see the winner of this matchup will be sitting, a lot better than the loser, most likely. The next game on this list is Alcorn, again, stepping out of conference, playing McNeese in Southland play, playing a Southland opponent. These two teams have played the last couple years, so they played a couple years ago, and this is McNeese has been playing regional SWAC teams for a while, so another good FCS matchup for Alcorn to play another regional opponent. This time on the road, but I thought I'd throw that on the list. Incarnate Word at Prairie View. Prairie View went to Incarnate Word last year, but this year they're hosting them. So again, regional FCS opponent. Those kind of games always pique my interest, just because you want to kind of just a lot of people feel like these are games that you can measure yourself by. I just think that is just a good thing for local recruiting and everything to play teams in your area. So that's a big game. Austin Peay at Alabama A&M, again, another non-conference matchup, another pretty solid matchup. So this is Alabama A&M's first game on my list. This is opportunity. They are replacing some talented guys on that offense. So this is an opportunity for people to see what they have. Defensively, they're trying to, rebuild and rebound from last season. So they were heavy in the portal this off season. So you want to see this team can gel and they can make some moves. Moving on to week 4, pretty light schedule. The games that I have on my list for this week are Valley at Jackson State. Coach Dancy against his alma mater. Valley and JSU, statistically and record-wise, it's an uneven rivalry, but Valley definitely tends to get up for Jackson State. They played JSU real tight last season at home, which they tend to do. But Valley couldn't be much improved by this point in the season, so definitely want to keep the eyes on them. I think this is their first SWAC game of the season, so you want to keep their eyes on them just as a game of interest. JSU, obviously they're doing what they do, so everybody keeps their eyes on JSU when they play, so it should be no surprise why they're on a list like this. Alabama and them at FAMU, this is a game that Alabama and them definitely needs to win. I know it's like I said, it's early. You know, we don't know what anybody has, and it's really crazy to call a game a must win. You know, in week 4, when we're months away from the season, and you know, I'm not saying that season is over if they lose or anything like that, but I think this is a big game for them. Last year they let this game slip away, and you know, like I said, they have some new pieces, and this is a good game to showcase if they've made a lot of progress. By week 4, week 5, you should know what kind of team you have. So you know, you should probably know where Alabama A&M is at this point. So big division matchup. FAMU is a big matchup because it's a divisional matchup, and they need to keep pace. Depending on what happens in the Orange Blossom Classic. Moving on to week 5. Not a lot of games on the list for week 5. I did list Prairie View and Grambling in the State Fair Classic in Dallas, strictly because I think that the West Division is up for grabs. So, honestly, I say, if Pine Bluff gets their act together, then I think all 6 teams in the West have the potential to win it. I'm not saying, everybody's, somebody's gonna, fall behind. Somebody's not gonna live up to expectations. And, I think both divisions this year are gonna be tough, but I think the East has established contenders. The West, I don't think they have an established contender. Everybody has flaws in the West, some major flaws on each team. So nobody really is like just, maybe a piece away, or, they, can easily take hold of the division. So every game to me that's a division game could probably end up on this list. Prairie View and Grambling is a matchup that, Prairie View has had the upper hand in the last few years, but this matchup typically can define the division championship. And this is a good conference matchup early in the season. They've played some entertaining games in this matchup the last few years, so it definitely deserves to be on this list. Week 6, October 8th, FAMU goes to South Carolina State again. I feel like South Carolina State probably should be a SWAC member at some point, and this is another game for them against a former MEAC opponent. And I expect to see this quite often. So, these two teams, they have a history. South Carolina State has had the upper hand on FAMU for a while, and other than last season, I think. So this is a matchup that always are going to pique interest, and it definitely deserves to be on my list. Southern is at Prairie View this weekend, and not besides the division implications, this is Coach Dooley's first game back at Prairie View as the head coach of Southern University. So I'm sure there's going to be some emotion now on both sides. Southern has not lost in Prairie View in their last 3 trips there. For years, Southern played Prairie View in Houston, so Southern hasn't really gone to Prairie View, the school itself, until recently. So this is Southern's. I think this will be their 4th trip to Prairie View. This is their 3rd game in the new stadium. So they have not lost there since they've been going there. I expect this to be a really great atmosphere. I think both teams have a lot to prove. Prairie View, they bombed Southern last year in Baton Rouge, so there's a lot on the line in this game. It's a division matchup, and it's a lot of weaving of coaching staffs on both sides. It's a lot of things there. So a lot of headlines and storylines can come from that game. So definitely a big time matchup in week 6. Jackson State at Alabama State. Alabama State scheduled JSU for homecoming. I have no problem with that. I know a lot of people are upset about that, but you want to get your money maker. Since you don't have your biggest game is always at a neutral site. Your biggest rival is always at a neutral site, and this year you don't have the you don't have Tuskegee in the Turkey Day Classic. This is you need a money game at home, and this is a money game. Obviously, there's been some not tension, but there's been some drama back and forth since the spring of 2021 when Alabama State beat JSU. So this is Eddie Robinson, one of his biggest games of his young career against Jackson State, and it should be a very, very intense atmosphere. Homecoming in Montgomery. The storylines write themselves, so naturally this game was going to be on the list. October 15th, Alcorn makes a return trip to Southern. They went to Southern last year, and due to the whole issue with Alcorn opting out of the 2021 spring season, they had to go back to Southern again. This game came down to a last-second field goal last year. Southern finally beat Alcorn for the first time in a while. This is a big matchup for division. Excuse me, for the division. So there's a lot of things at stake. Depending on how both team seasons shake out at this point. So definitely, anytime Southern and Alcorn matchup, there's a lot of interest in this game, and now there's a division matchup. The interest definitely is raised. Um, let's see, Valley at Alabama State. This is a underrated game. I think possibly could be on the season. Valley. We don't know where they're gonna be at, but Valley could be a sneaky, dangerous team by this point. I know a lot of people are predicting that, but it's I can't say right now. But Alabama State also in the same boat. This game can be important because this could be the third place. The winner of this game could be third place in the division. Depending on what happens with Alabama and them. So this is a very important game. Valley played they played pretty tough, under Coach Dancy, and Alabama State's going to be trying to put together an identity under Coach Robinson. So this was a game I thought could be an underrated game on the schedule, or it could just be nothing. But I just thought it was a game that piqued my interest for those reasons. Moving on to October 16th, which is a Sunday. I only put this game on here for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't have a Pine Bluff game on the list. I didn't really have a lot of games that piqued my interest with them. None of the division matchups I really felt like piqued my interest because we don't know what Pine Bluff will be this season, and they don't really have a natural rival in the conference. So this game is being played in St. Louis on a Sunday, so that's a special thing. So I thought that it should be on the list, but really, honestly, no other reason than that. These two teams are pretty far from their spring 2021 SWAC championship game. So there's a lot that's changed from then to now, and who knows where either team will be at this point in the season. So that was the only reason why I really put this on the list for the sake of inclusion. October 22nd, Jackson State plays Campbell for homecoming, and this is a game that Campbell, they're a program that recruited really well this offseason. So they're looking to have something to prove. JSU obviously has, a lot to prove just to other people. People who don't really believe in what they've done. So this is a game that's gonna pique some interest from a lot of different eyes, and this is gonna easily be one of the biggest crowds that Campbell plays in front of. JSU is homecoming, so they're gonna turn out. They could be on an undefeated season at this point, depending on how things shake out early. But this is a very interesting matchup. We'll know a lot more about these teams as we get into the season. But this game wasn't positive on the schedule. It was automatically going to be a game of interest for me because I just wanted to see it. Some people don't know who Campbell is, so this should be a learning opportunity for some fans. So it should be a very interesting matchup heading into it. The other game on this list is another West Division matchup, Texas Southern at Alcorn. Alcorn was able to get out of Houston with a W last year. TSU had problems controlling the football in this game, and Alcorn was able to pick up a big victory. So this is a chance, like I said, every TSU game on this list is mainly because a lot of people think that they're a team that can win a division. So if they are, all of these matches are huge for them. Alcorn, we still, we don't know where they're going to be at. They're replacing some big time guys. So they're kind of in a rebuild. So will they be able to get back to what they were? This is a very important game, mid-season West Division matchup. Like I said, I think every game in this division this season, it means something. So this is an opportunity for somebody to keep pace in the division or maybe fall out of the race, depending on the outcome. October 29th, Alcorn is at Grambling. Last time Alcorn went to Grambling was in 2019. They got beat by Grambling. Didn't really affect their season, but Grambling has matched up well with Alcorn. Alcorn was able to pull out the victory. last year over Grambling. So these two teams, these are rivals and now they're division opponents. So that just amps it up a little bit more. This is the same reason why all the other West Division games are on this schedule, on this list, because these games to me, they mean a lot in the division race. Southern and Jackson State, that game pretty much speaks for itself, regardless of record, regardless of anything. This is a big matchup, and any list that you make, this game should always be on there. Southern obviously looking to rebound. Jackson State beat Southern for the first time in a while last year. Very entertaining game, came down to the end. So we'll see, how these two teams match up in October, which is where I feel like this game should always be played in. Really in mid-October. To me, this is the perfect spot for this game. But late October, I'll take it. Also, the Magic City Classic, Alabama A&M versus Alabama State. Eddie Robinson's first Magic City Classic as a head coach. Big matchup. Bama State hasn't beat Alabama A&M, I think, in the last 4 or 5 matchups. So they definitely want and need this W. I think this game can go a long way in determining some of the pecking order in the division. The team who wins the division can maybe be third place, depending on what goes on in some of the other games. I think, this is, maybe, if something goes sideways with somebody else, this could be a matchup that can boost somebody, even further in the division race. But this is obviously a big rivalry. Bama State needs to win it. Coach Robinson, this is his first Magic City Classic, so as a head coach. So, a lot of intrigue there. It kind of speaks for itself. November 5th, Southern is at FAMU. Again, this is a rivalry game. This is a game that, since these teams are in the same conference now, this game is probably always going to be on my list, regardless of either team's record. This is a big game. The last time these two teams played in Tallahassee, FAMU won on a 99-yard drive in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. So this should be an entertaining game. Last year's game was, entertaining for a while till FAMU really stonewalled Southern on offense and it was able to pull out a victory in this game. So I think, should be a really good matchup. As usual, these two teams pretty much play close most of the time. So, I expect, an intense matchup, especially since it's a conference game. Another West Division game that makes this list is Alcorn at Prairie View. Last year, Alcorn beat Prairie View, which kind of slowed down their hunt to the SWAC championship game, but Alcorn Prairie View was still able to win the division. Again, same reason as I said about the last few West Division games. This game means a lot because I think this is going to be a log jam in the standings. So every division game counts, and they all pretty much make my list of that 5-team circle. Texas Southern and Jackson State. This was a pretty entertaining game. JSU won it pretty handily, at least comfortably. It wasn't a super blowout, but TSU represented themselves pretty well on offense in this game. So I think that they want to prove something. This can be a big game. Depending on how TSU season goes, this could be a game that maybe this could be a preview of the SWAC championship. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that, if things fall TSU's way, this could be that type of game. This could be a big coming out party for them. Or it could be, it could just be a game that, they're just trying to get through. So it definitely made my interest when I saw it on the schedule. So it makes my list. November 12th, we have Grambling and TSU. Again, rinse and repeat. West Division matchup. One of the 5 teams, Texas Southern, Grambling, Alcorn, Prairie View. They play each other. This is making my list because I just think that I have no idea who the favorite is in this division. So to me, every game means a lot at this point. So it was very easy to put this game on my list. These two teams play close typically, especially in Houston. So I don't expect anything different in this one. Grambling could be, they could be in the lead in the division if things go the way a lot of people think. TSU, same thing. So either team could be out of it. We just don't have any way of really knowing right now, especially, nobody's a head and shoulders favorite in the division at this point. Jackson State and Alabama, A&M playing in the Gulf Coast Challenge in Mobile. So, neutral site matchup. Everybody knows what happened in Huntsville last year. Could this be a repeat? We don't know. We don't know what Alabama A&M is gonna have. We don't know how their season is gonna be going by this point, but this is a game that still piques interest because it's Coach Manor and Coach Sanders. So the two coaches drive a lot of interest in this game, regardless of what happens on the field. November 19th, Florida Classic, Bethune-Cookman FAMU. FAMU was able to snap that Bethune-Cookman streak in a major way last year, really blowing out Bethune-Cookman. But this game is another game that's gonna always make my list, regardless of records, because this is a big game. This is a rivalry game. This is one of the bigger rivalries in HBCU football, and draws one of the biggest crowds, so it's gonna always make my list, regardless. So this, we don't know what Bethune-Cookman would be, but FAMU expects to be an East Division contender, so this is a very important game for them to close out their regular season. Another rivalry game, Jackson State Alcorn. Big matchup here. Last year they played in front of almost a packed house in Jackson, 62,000 plus. Another great crowd should be at this game. Another rivalry game that records don't really matter, and I know it's gonna make my list all the time. And finally, my last game of the year is the Bayou Classic. Again, same thing. Even last year, for somebody like me, this game still meant a lot, even though both teams were really bad. To some people, this game didn't mean anything because the records were bad. But if you're in it, you understand what I'm saying. And this game could be a division championship game like it had been the last few years before the fall of 2021. This was a game that typically the winner won a division, or maybe the winner helped somebody else win a division. But this could be a game that impacts the West Division depending on how the rest of the season shakes out. And it's the Bayou Classic, so that speaks for itself. Obviously, you could throw the SWAC championship game on there and the Celebration Bowl. Those are interesting games in and of themselves, but I didn't really, since we don't know who's playing in those games, it doesn't really make a big difference to put them on the list. So that's going to do it for today's show. That's my 2022 games of interest. Let me know if there's a game that not on the list that you think should be on the list, or a game that you don't think should be on the list. It's all good. We can chop it up in the comments. Again, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC C Wells. Signing out. Y'all enjoy y'all Sunday. Catch y'all on Wednesday for another edition of SWAC Talk. SWAC Smoke Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. SWAC Talk coming at you again next Sunday. And SWAC Smoke t-shirts, man. I'm gonna post the information in the description. The info will be on my IG and my Facebook. Y'all can hit me up or hit DJ up and get some more info on that. So make sure y'all check out the SWAC Smoke merch and support the show. Again, tour guide, stopping the bus. I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a good Sunday. Peace.